258th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the third week of 2017, also the third podcast of 2017. This episode is titled Kill Command. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by Arkus, specializing in Salesforce implementations, consulting, and Force.com development. Search for Arkus, A-R-K-U-S, on the App Exchange and read what our clients have to say about us. I am your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me, co-host with the the biggest beard there ever was.
It's my crutch beard.
It's getting ridiculous.
It's my crutch beard. It's going away tomorrow.
Is Justin Edelstein. Justin, how are you and your crutch beard?
My crutch beard's disappearing tomorrow because my crutches have disappeared. They're gone. I don't need them any longer.
You have your cane beard?
I got Big Daddy right here, my cane. Big Daddy cane. And
it wasn't funny when you said it off air. It's still not funny.
It's hilarious. And
Does it
yeah,
have a monogram on there?
it's the company's name that makes it. Harvey.
For those of you who didn't listen to the last podcast, go back, listen to it, learn why he's not walking on his feet yet. We'll just skip over that.
When I go
really
outside,
care.
though, I'm going to use the crutches. It's still pretty crazy out there in New York.
Hey, still don't care.
The people
Let's just
care.
check in with
The
Jason
people
over
care.
here to see if you care. No. Nope, sorry. Reporting him for the top of the thing. He still doesn't care.
No, the people care.
No, they do not.
Do you know the people like me a lot more than they like you?
Of course
That's
they do.
a thing.
Yeah,
So much more likable.
you are. Kind of like a doofus. Like, it's like, I like that little...
It's not really so much a
that
doofus.
dumb
It's
kid in the
more
corner.
like
He's so likable.
it's not a doofus thing. It's like not a jerk thing.
Oh, you think so?
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's not the way it is. Speaking of which, I started my new podcast.
What's it called?
No, so I was on... It actually should be out
How
today.
dare you cheat on me?
You cheated on me first.
That's true.
Yeah. You
Matt
stuck
and
your
I-
mouth on someone else's mic before I did.
Matt Morris and I had a lovely night together podcasting.
Yeah, you did. Well, not night. It was day. It was at
I was
Dreamforce.
trying to make it sound a little more romantical.
Anyway, I'm on. I'll tweet it so when it comes out. But
What are you on? What show are you on?
I think it's called the Brainy Podcast. I think
You
that's
think
it.
it's
I don't know.
this is the jerk. You
Yeah,
don't even
this-
know what you're on.
Nope,
You have no
don't
clue.
care,
You're like,
don't
I'm
care.
on whatever. It's
Here's the
like
thing.
it's like some Al Jazeera thing.
What?
You're like what are you on?
First of all, that's not cool. Second of all, it's like my theory with people that you always like to bring up that
right.
makes me the jerk that I am, is that I don't really get to know people very well until I've known them for like a year. Like, you have a year waiting period
I don't get to know you till I get to know you.
for a year.
For a year.
Yeah.
You really have to try
Podcasts,
hard.
Podcasts, I don't really pay attention until you get 100 episodes. When you
Right.
get 100, let's talk. Other than that, you're kind of like, I think he's on his 6. That's great. 6 is great.
6 is good.
I remember when I did my first 6 podcasts in like
One mic.
2007.
Oh well, though. Those were Skype calls.
Skype calls. Someone asked, then another person came the other day. I forgot her name because I haven't known her for a year. She asked me about podcast advice and what, what to use and all sorts of stuff. And I gave her like here's how you do it. And
Well, didn't we do a whole podcast on how to podcast?
yeah. And which episode was it?
Don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of the 250 some odd episodes.
I think it's somewhere after 200. I went looking. I could not
It's
find
like-
it. We
yeah.
did a blog post on it.
Maybe that's all we did.
Yeah, but
was
if
a
you look,
blog
that one's
post.
old. It's like not what we do currently.
Well, yeah. I mean, technology's changed.
So I told her.
We do
I
still
gave
sit
this-
with each other, though.
Yes.
Which I don't know how many other. I mean, there's so many Salesforce and cloud computing
know.
podcasts. It's unreal. I don't know how many people sit in the same room.
How many of them are weekly though? Because that's really
Not this one.
That's our defining feature.
It's our branding.
Is that we're weekly
the air quotes.
fake podcast. Anyway, moving on. All right,
Quote weekly.
we have some quote weekly
Quote weekly.
air quotes. Well, we did one. We do them in the week.
It's so rare you get me to laugh that hard.
I get you to laugh a lot recently. I think it's all the drugs.
Yeah, so
Probably.
many drugs.
All right, so we have some blog catch-ups to do, and then we have a couple stories because we kind of been ignoring real stories in the real world. And then we'll get the next time we make our picks, we'll get out of here. So,
All right, let's do
since
it.
these are the ones that are not the spring 17
Right.
versions.
These went on during the Spring
Right.
17 series, in and out, mix and match.
The blog is killing us. They're way ahead of us.
Well ahead of us. You know why? Because it's weekly.
That is true. It's weekly.
Sometimes it's more than one a week. It's a plethora of pinatas
So
of content.
let's go way back in the
Wayback Machine?
in the Wayback Machine and talk about James's bot.
Some of his resolutions for 2017.
2017.
It's a quarter of the way there.
Yeah. So James Bajold, employee and blogger at Arkus Incorporated. Funny enough, he makes a reference to a race that we're running together in the spring, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so his blog post was called "My Salesforce Resolutions for 2017," and really just talks about sort of things he wants to do in the Salesforce world. So I think, well, there's only 3 things. Why don't we each pick one of the 3?
Sure.
Well, actually, one of them will kind of lead us into another one. We could actually double up on that one.
I'm going to go with the Embrace the Lex
What is Lex?
Lightning Experience.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. So today I did a first iteration review with a client who I didn't even ask. There was no option for them. They were getting Lex. That was it.
Aren't you afraid they're going to come back and ask for a feature that's not Lex? You're going to be like, well...
I'm going to say that's not available at the very moment. And I'm going to show them
And they go,
the
but I know
roadmap.
it's available because I went to Powerhouse Hub and they said you can do that in Salesforce.
Not worried.
All right, cool.
Not worried about it.
And how'd it go?
Very well.
Did you build it in Lex?
Built it in
Classic.
Lex, recorded it. Recorded me building it in Lex.
Okay.
For everyone at Arkus to watch.
Nice.
So,
That's
yes.
7 hours I will not ever do. It'll waste my time. Can I put it at like 3 times the speed?
You're good. I started at 7 a.m., so it's pretty slow.
Did you really go and put stickers back on your laptop after our discussion?
These were on there well before that discussion. I'll just figure out how to get them off when the time is right. It's maybe the last laptop I ever owned.
Yeah. It's the last time you get a new laptop, I'll tell you that much. Still angry.
Anyway, Lex is coming along. There's still some wonkiness to it where, like, you'll expect things to update and, you'll do something on a record which should update something on another record and it just doesn't. For some reason, you have to, like, refresh the page. Very weird. Since everything's happening, client side, it should really work. It's very odd. But aside from that, I'm not getting any of those like pop-up like error gacs anymore.
Excuse me, or
excuse me, sorry, but I broke, so refresh me. Like that's not happening.
But you can break Lex. That's what I found. I have a client. We built some POC stuff, proof of concept stuff, and it was a lot of just throwing stuff at the wall to see what happens. But did it in Lex, and there are pages that will take down your browser that we built. Like you can build bad Lex.
Yeah, you can. I mean,
but you couldn't really build bad like page layouts on.
Well, you can build bad Visual Force pages.
I guess, but I feel like they're more protective. I feel like Lex is less protective of the browser. Meaning, I think you can do stuff to hurt the browser more. What did I do?
Our home in our org, when you go to our homepage, you've dropped I think you dropped like the chatter component in there, and it takes forever to load.
That's performance, yeah. I dropped that. I dropped our waiting list. I dropped a
lot of things on that homepage, yes. But it's getting really nice. Like there's some really interesting features. That little, we talked a lot about Lightning last week, but the bar at the bottom that you can just drop things into, like notes and recent items and related lists. So like my open opportunities are just everywhere throughout the system. That's really cool. They were really digging it. And this is where it gets really cool is when you demo, I have a really big monitor. So I had the browser open across most of the screen. And then I had my phone connected. And I was showing them the phone next to the browser and how everything sort of looks almost the same.
Right.
And then I was editing things in the phone, and then it would just, I'd refresh the browser, and boom, it was there. I'd add a record on the phone, and then it was there. And
nothing to do with Lex, though.
But they look the same. So it has the same look and feel. So
the
it looks like you're
functionality is
using the
exact
same app.
All right, whatever. his other,
Anyway,
so that was
they liked it. It was nice.
his thing was embrace the Lex. I talked about this on the other podcast where I was cheating on you, but we at Arkus, this going to Lex for a first time setup is kind of a no brainer and easy. Going there from an older org that has 7-8 years worth of customization, it's tough. And not only our org, it's about understanding, it's about functions. I did the other day though have two things that I had that moment where like, ooh, I can do this in Lex, and I miss it. One was favorites, right? Because I favorited like a bunch of reports that I like to go to, which of course I can add to my sidebar or search on, but it was just nice to go and hit the favorite. And the second was I was looking at a my open opportunity that I'm the PM, and I went, oh, and I was looking in Classic, and I was like, oh, this would be better in Kanban. Let me go over to Kanban. Now, they need to get if I'm on something on Classic and I click go over, bring me to where I am on the other side.
Yeah, no, you go to the homepage.
Don't drop me on the homepage. That's useless.
The homepage.
Useless.
Homepage.
All right, so those were the two. Well, and his other one was about blazing a trail, really getting deep into
Super badges.
Super badges. He's picked every super badge he wants to try to do every year. This year, I know he's already gotten the lightning experience specialist, so good for him.
Good. That's a good one.
Speaking of, let's go. Speaking of resolutions, I guess we can go next. We'll talk to. This actually came about because in the not in Power of Us Hub, in the Success community, I have a group in there that I started whenever it was success. I used to actually have it in the old Dreamforce portal, which is a getting things done group because I'm a junkie and whatever, and I have followers. So he posted about it. I posted something about weekly review, and he said, "Oh yeah, I love doing weekly reviews, Larry." And I said, "Oh, why don't you write a blog post about it, right?" And kind of goaded him into it. So he wrote GTD Yearly Review, and it's really about him sort of taking sort of what he does on a weekly basis and doing it more on a yearly thing, and taking time at the end of the year to kind of go big picture, talk about think about all the things in his life, kind of do that garbage collection of all the things that are in his head or that he hasn't done, and he really goes through it pretty well in detail. What I always find funny is that he used to take him like 2 weeks, and now it only takes him a day, which I don't know what you would do if it took you 2 weeks to do. That'd be a lot.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff that probably is now no longer being reviewed, and perhaps it used to take 2 weeks because it was a bit messy. So maybe the process has been refined over the course of the years, but also maybe he's dropped a number of the things that he's done. I mean, not sure. Sounds like if you're doing a yearly review, if a weekly review takes you an hour, a yearly review could maybe take you more than 8 hours.
52 hours?
And probably like maybe 2 days, 3 days. I don't know. I do not know, but it's, he's doing this thing for himself every year, and it works for him. So good.
Yeah, I mean, my week review is like I don't do something like this. I do at the end of the year have a lot of stuff that comes up that I do, a lot of projects in OmniFocus that are yearly projects. There are things that I kind of look at and only think about yearly. So it helps me kind of. So while I don't have a yearly review that's sort of a set of things to do, I definitely have a lot of projects that pop up in January and that are like, so look at this, look at this, look at this. And that kind of kicks me into, looking at bigger things. But my weekly review is kind of covers everything that's out there on the planet. So that is his blog post on blog.arkusinc.com. And did he tag it GTD? Yeah, good boy. So click on the tag on the side, GTD, and get all the GTD content, which actually there's a lot up there. Next up is Sam's, although she's Samantha on the blog post, or on the blog, Samantha Saffin's blog post on tips for selecting the right marketing automation. Whoa. That's some deep stuff.
Whoa.
Interesting, it wasn't tips on how to pick the marketing cloud. No. It was tips for picking the right marketing automation.
That's right. I like to start with she gives a list of 10 questions to ask. And I think that's a good place to sort of settle in on this blog post, because there's a lot of talk about, know your database, know your strategy, know what you actually want to do from a marketing perspective. You might just want to send one monthly newsletter to everybody you know, and that will be very different than if you wanted to have numerous broadcast emails as well as transactional emails that are sent to different types of people at different times. So, start with, what you actually are trying to even do from a marketing perspective. If it's B2B, if it's B2C, really think about that. And then there's kind of like the digging deep with your choices. Like once you've said, okay, I want to do, really more sophisticated marketing automation versus just broadcasting emails out to a single list once a month. And you've gotten your choices, start to ask them some of these deeper questions. And I think these are helpful for people. So I'll just sort of rattle them off.
Wait, you're going to read all these questions?
Well, they're simple. I'll read them off and people will say, oh, that's really great. So again, integration with CRM. Does it have it? What direction? How does it work? How deep does it go? All that stuff. What kind of reports do you get? Can I create custom ones? These are things to think about. What other kinds of integrations are there? Like if you're running webinars or events or things like that, can I integrate with those systems? How does it handle multiple channels? So think about social. Think about, not
mobile?
Just email. Well, sure, mobile, but not just email, right? Am I pushing to a mobile app, or am I doing social? How does it help with deliverability, search engine optimization, things that like are more techie, right? Helping to actually get the email into someone's inbox. Is there a community that you can go to get some support or not? Do they provide support? Are there SLAs, things of that nature? Do you get some training as an administrator of the platform? Do you have to pay for it? Is it free? Can you customize it? Can you customize the platform? And how often are things updated? Is it a release a year? Is it 3 releases a year? Is it whenever they feel like it? Is there a cadence to it? So there you go, right off the top, some questions to think about when picking marketing automation.
I feel like you could almost use that for any piece of cloud software. Like I'm thinking of those lists, besides deliverability, cloud software, do they have a customer community? Do they provide support? So it's good questions, I think, just even evaluating anything. Doesn't matter what it is. I have a note for you as we get off this. A note.
Do you have to write it down?
Vertical response.
Yeah, what about them?
Heard of it?
Yeah, I have.
Big name in email marketing 5 years ago.
A while ago, only because it was free for nonprofits.
New version, not going to support Salesforce, apparently.
Probably because they just got eaten or swallowed.
Yeah.
I mean, their big thing was you get 10,000 emails a month to send for free as a nonprofit. That was like their biggest thing. But for nonprofits, some of these tools are so much more sophisticated and fairly cheap. You can just go with MailChimp. If you're using vertical response, just go with MailChimp and you're going to have a better tool.
Yeah, just interesting. That used to be one of the big go-tos 5, 6, 7 years ago, and now it's now I know people getting off of it. Like, oh, we have to get off vertical response.
Salesforce themselves was using it like 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, Salesforce itself has still got deliverability issues. I still get a lot of their stuff caught in my spam.
Me too.
Which to me is, I don't know how that happens. I also, in one of our Slack channels, we have like a general Slack channel.
So does everybody.
I've been enjoying putting up like seems legit emails because I get a lot of spam.
Yeah, your spam is really funny.
Well, I have an email address that's 21 years old. So
some of the stuff you get is just really hilarious.
Yeah, it's bad. I get some. I mean, obviously my
like,
spam engine takes a lot of it.
Please respond with your social security number and 3 credit card numbers. Okay.
I just think that's funny. This last one was an Amex fraud, and I had to look at it for 2 seconds. I had to go, wait, because they had got the template
Please click
down.
on this link, land on a form, and enter every piece of personal information.
But they had a couple things that were wrong that I think most people wouldn't have figured out. Like, they did a couple things. I could Yeah. Anyway, be careful. Phishing is still real. It's still out there. Don't it's not gone away.
It's real, kids.
Speaking of phishing, some doof wrote Trailhead Super Badges are really super.
I wrote that.
Oh, that's you?
That was me, man.
That's Justin.
That was me, dude. That's me, dude.
So this is your blog post on passing the Lightning Experience Specialist Super Badge.
Not really passing, but more just talking about super badges in general, and that happened to be my experience was with the Lightning Experience Specialist Super Badge, but it was more about the fact that they exist and how great they are as a learning tool.
So tell me what a Super Badge is.
Super Badges is, well, have you gone through a regular Trailhead
yes.
module and trail to get a badge?
Yes.
Okay. Think of a Super Badge as about 15 times harder than that. So you have to really do work. You have to, in some cases, spin up special orgs, install App Exchange packages to get the org in the place where it needs to be. And then you have to really go through projects and get things done. So like in this Lightning Experience one, you had to build the flow, you had to build a couple of processes, you had to do some data loading, like cross-object data loading. So understanding how to load opportunities, for example, like, accounts first, then the opportunities that are related to the accounts, and so on and so forth. I can't remember everything that was in there, and it was, build custom Lightning pages, get them to work on a mobile device, get them to like, how would they look on this form factor, that form factor, build a special one with some App Exchange package that they gave you that did some thing that you wouldn't normally be able to do. It was a really interesting learning experience because it did take about 6 hours to do. I did it for 6 straight hours and just pounded through it. A lot. It was a lot of work, and it was a great way to just learn Lightning Experience and other things about the platform that they Salesforce consider Lightning, like Process Builder and like Flow. Actually consider that like Lightning stuff.
Process Builder I could see being Lightning because it is actually it's
Lightning Process Builder or
right.
whatever.
But Flow?
Yeah, they considered it part of like the Lightning stack, I guess. Whatever that is.
But Flow is also not a Lightning thing. You can use it outside of Lightning, just like
Sure.
you use Process Builder outside of Lightning.
And it wasn't even for a front end piece. It was for a back end. Like use Flow to do the logic behind something that you would kick off by a process and have things that would normally take a trigger to do.
Nice. They don't have a bunch of them. There are, I think,
There's
7?
Five.
5 now?
5.
They are, what's interesting is if you go click on them in Trailhead, you'll see, like sometimes you've done parts of them. So you've done some badges and you've already accumulated some of the points.
Most of the time you can't even just start them. Unless you've done...
Right, there's prerequisites.
There's prereqs. So for the 6 hours, there was also a couple hours of like having to do some of the prerequisite trails to get to the point of being able to even start. So it won't let you start.
Right.
So I'm in trouble. I was trying to do the security one 2 weekends ago, I think. And I was having some trouble with it. It was just... Trailhead was just not behaving. Like how it goes and checks against like some metadata of some other org. It was really not working. Like it wasn't connecting correctly. I found that if you go into incognito mode in Trailhead, you're way better off.
Really?
That's a little pro tip for you. Do Trailhead in incognito. Way better.
I'm wondering why Trailhead isn't productized yet. Why don't we see it in release notes? Why doesn't it have a roadmap? Why doesn't it have it's not part of what I would consider normal release cycles? Why?
It's not a for sale product. Is that a good enough answer?
No.
Why not? I mean, help and training doesn't have a release cycle.
Actually, it does. It gets updated 3 times a year when the releases come out because it's based on release notes.
Well, Trailhead is different.
Yeah. Oh, it's different.
Well, it's an LMS. I mean, what does it need? Like a release note for? What do you want a roadmap on? The things we're going to train you on?
No.
Read the release notes. We'll come out with the features.
No, the features that are going to come to Trailhead.
But Trailhead is what it is. It's an LMS.
No, it is a product of Salesforce's. It is eventually going to it's going to have other features, right? We know this.
Like what?
It is known.
Like going
to
through other trails? Like new trails?
Well,
more exciting trails?
Trails coming out. Super Badges was something that was added on. Integration with other Success, with the other platforms. Like now in Success, you can hook up your Trailheads. Integration into LinkedIn. These are all things that came out after Trailhead was launched. The point is,
what do you want? Release notes on Trailhead?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, I do, because I feel like they're in this middle ground where they're trying to productize it, but they're not like treating it like a product. And I think they should treat it like a product and just say, here's in the end of your release notes, here's what's coming in Trailhead spring 16, spring 17, summer of 18, whatever. Anyway, just an interesting thing. There's things that Salesforce is like products, and then there's things that are sort of these side things. But Trailhead is such a huge part of the branding of Salesforce now. It's interesting they don't have release notes. Why not? Why aren't there release notes for Trailhead? Ask a question, get an answer. Totally required, just not being done, because, I don't know. At least I know who to ask. Maybe we'll ask him on Twitter and see what he says. All right, is that all our catch-up for the time? Now we can go into actual articles.
You picked 2 articles.
I picked 2 and 3. Well, first one was... So this hit a lot of people the other day, which was, so you don't know how far Amazon is or how many of your apps work on Amazon until Amazon goes down.
Then you realize they all do.
And then everybody's on Amazon, which is, yeah. So Amazon had an outage beginning of March. And, the outages aren't a big deal. Okay, so outages happen and who cares, and that just happens. But what's funny is the way they happen or why. Okay, if a lightning strikes something and it goes down, fine. If
like a server bear?
If a bear gets in the server, starts tearing things apart and dancing, all skinnily clad, like whatever. Fine, I use some VR.
Oh man, can you FaceTime with me right now? Let's see what's going on behind you.
Bear.
You know what the problem is? There's a bear behind you.
There's a server bear.
There's a bear in your server room.
Hashtag
sir.
server bear. But this one was just, again, plain old fun, like basically some human error, which is usually the best. So the thing was the person had gone to take off or take down a set of servers. So obviously, Amazon Cloud is made up of probably thousands and thousands and thousands, and they're probably in clusters and pods, whatever they call them. And he goes to, take a couple down for maintenance on the command line, slash, shut down servers A through D or something. And then instead of doing A through D, he threw A through D star. And it just took down the whole thing. That's awesome. One little slip of this is the thing about command lines. So I don't know if you're probably not much of a command line person, but back in the day with Unix, command line is so powerful, and the people who can do it will tell you it's miles above anything you can do with a UI. You can just power through. It takes so much time to learn. Remember, we worked at that financial institute,
yes,
and they wouldn't get off of it because you could.
That acronym that I won't say because it's
probably doesn't exist anymore.
Whatever. I don't want to say the acronym, but yeah, I remember thinking
DBA.
It wasn't any of those, but
I know
but it was like, why won't you get off of this green screen thing? And it's like, because it's too fast.
Because it's super fast, and nothing you have built in the last 20 years has created anything faster than this.
Because everything you build is slower,
right?
And I can do everything I need to do with this with my keyboard. Thank you.
Yep. So anyway,
these are not programmers; these are financial advisors.
And once you learn it, it's the fastest way. But in Unix, there's not a lot of "are you sures," right? The nice thing about graphical user interfaces is you get like a, hey,
okay,
are you sure? Are you super sure?
Seems like you're doing something pretty crazy right now.
You crazy.
You're so
stop that.
crazy.
You're so crazy. Don't shut down all the servers. Just like there's nothing in there to say.
Are you sure you want to shut down 1,256,853 servers?
If user asks for more than 5 user shutdowns, say no. So my funny story was at the big financial firm that we worked at, our whole our websites and trading engine was run on these mainframes. So massive, massive hardware to run these, this front end website. And it was massive, again, very expensive hardware. And they had two. They had them hot swappable. So you had like one in Jersey and one in New York, and they were both mainframes running constantly. Only one was taking real requests, and they were being in sync. So if this one ever to go down, this one would kick on. But so a developer, and they're probably in the same room, right? The monitors, because they're huge, so like they're the same room. And then sometimes there's like two keyboards. One keyboard's the backup one, and one keyboard's whatever. And so the guy went to go reboot the backup one, the DR. Doesn't matter, you can reboot anytime you want because it's not going. By the way, they take 30 minutes to reboot because they're mainframes. Just use the wrong keyboard. Just wrong keyboard. And so then eventually, what the answer was? Put a piece of tape on the top. Production, backup.
Tape? I would have thought just a different color keyboard or something.
Well, I mean, a piece of white tape with marker. Production. Anyway, that was my funny taking down the world. Speaking of taking things down, this is a fun topic for us because we've been around for a lot of these. And I posted this into our Slack channel, which everybody doesn't have, social. Top 10 services Google killed off. This was published on, what was it published on? Oh, Lifehacker on beginning of March. And kind of fun.
I call number 6.
Is it Wave?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would say go take a look. I mean, obviously Wave is something we have talked about many, many, many times on the podcast. But there are things in here that, well, first of all, some things I didn't recognize.
Look at number 4, Google Notebook. And look at the image.
Google Notebook.
It's being used as a GTD tool.
Oh, yes, I did see that. Well, even Google Labs. Like, I didn't even know Google Labs was killed. Like, they killed that?
Google Reader was a death blow.
That one hurt. Google Wave and Google Reader, which one hurt more?
Well, to me, Google Wave, because at that point, I was using it at work to get things accomplished and collaborate. And it was sort of replacing a lot of things for us. And we really figured out a good way to adopt it. Reader, I was kind of over the whole RSS thing. RSS is the future was sort of not the future.
I would think Reader hurt more because Wave had a replacement, which now looking back is better than Wave.
Docs is better than Wave.
Docs is better. Drive is better than Wave.
Drive is better, obviously.
Yeah, and has now had tons more features, and they've kept it going. Whereas Reader, they killed, and there's no replacement.
No.
I use Feedly, which I really like. So there's a shout out for Feedly.
iGoogle. Remember iGoogle?
iGoogle.
Back in the day,
yes.
You'd have your super customizable homepage.
Remember, I mean, man,
Yahoo homepages.
Yeah, Excite
iGoogle.
was a really good one.
There's a couple of really interesting ones that I remember, like back in the early Web 2.0 days, where it'd be like, oh, let me subscribe to that, that feed on Dig or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's like all these things just disappeared.
Customized homepages. I remember we did a massive project at the company to build a customized homepage. You could put your stocks, you could put your portfolio,
drag and drop the little widgets around.
Oh man! And now there's frameworks that you can just make that easy, easy peasy,
like Lightning.
Oh no! But speaking of things that Google kills off.
Speaking of,
I just throw this on. So they actually Google announced in there because they had their big what do they call it? IO Next, Nexto, Kill Offo. I don't know. They have now split off Hangouts, which we used to use before we used Slack, and they split it up into Google Chat and Google Meet. I have not used either yet. I don't know if they're both out yet. Like the actual split. Hangouts was good. It just wasn't great.
Still okay.
It's okay.
Well, if you use Gmail in your browser and you get the Hangouts works, and then you can start a Hangout, or they're included in every Google Calendar invite is a Hangout to actually meet. I mean, it works. The audio works, the video works, the sharing works. It works.
Just not.
It's not GoToMeeting.
It's not GoToMeeting.
It's not a WebEx.
It's not
I
Slack.
haven't used a WebEx in a while, and well, it's not Slack because it doesn't have the whole persistent group chat. which was a thing.
I don't think it also has. I mean, so Google Chat now has some of those features. They actually built in some of the features that Hangouts. The article's about taking on Slack.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. I mean, I was watching Slack boot up the other day and looking how the 4 colored things cross in their little hash. I'm like, why doesn't Google just buy this? Just buy it.
Just buy it.
Just buy it already.
Just buy it. Get it over with.
I mean, they got people are paying them for it.
Knock it off.
Work it into G Suite. Call it a day.
Call it a day.
Call it a day. Make it searchable.
Google Slack. Slack is searchable.
Google, yeah, it's not very good though.
No, it is. It's
no,
pretty decent.
search is pretty bad.
Star things, nice.
No, the star things is pretty bad too.
Well, no, it's not. You just start something, it shows up everywhere.
It's
you
terrible.
Just click the star.
Yeah, it's great. It's not,
Why is that terrible? You flag emails like a maniac.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't want.
Why is it terrible? But why is it terrible?
Don't put my stuff in Slack.
That wasn't the right answer.
Yeah, it is.
That's actually just prefer to not have somebody send you something that needs starring. But what I'm asking you is, why is the starring feature terrible? Because it works perfectly fine.
It allows you to bookmark something and get back to it.
Yeah, that's what you're doing with your email, dude.
It doesn't have you a good sense of where that thing is. So you can star it anywhere, and then when you try to get back to it, it kind of they're just in a starred thing, but it's not like where it came from. So it's out of context.
Well, you can go back to
That's why it's not good. It's because it's out of context.
But
I start an email.
I'm not. It doesn't matter.
Now you're wrong.
No, I'm not. But I don't really care to hear.
You just
your
asked me.
Nonsensical reason for why.
I just gave you a real reason. It doesn't have good context.
Okay, you try it again.
Okay, so in an email, when you star something or flag it, you get all the forward and backwards on the email. You can go up or down the chain to see what it is.
I meant try the feature again. I don't want to talk to you about it anymore.
Oh, okay.
Not worth it.
I do like the new threads.
Threads are awesome.
But now it's like people don't always use them, so it gets a little odd. It's like sometimes they just respond, sometimes they don't.
Use the threads, people.
Yeah, use threads. Use threads in Slack. You got to. All right, so that's that. Wow, we killed it. Look at that. 3 podcasts down, 3 to go for the rest of the year.
All right.
Is there anything else we want to do? All right, you have a pick of the week?
Yeah. Go 90.
Okay, what is it?
You know Go 90?
No, I've never heard of Go 90.
Okay, cool. Well, Go 90 is actually from Verizon.
Okay.
You can go to the website, go90.com, or you can have the app on your phone or on your tablet.
Okay.
And it is a completely free streaming content network. So like it's new content. It's original content.
Okay.
It's basically a streaming television network.
How did you land on this? What show got you there? Must have been something.
You've probably seen many commercials while watching sports for MVP.
Never.
It's the Shark Tank ripoff with Gronk and Antonio Brown as the Sharks.
Okay.
And basically, it's like there's like 3 athletes that are like the Sharks. It's Gronk, Antonio Brown, and God, I can't remember the third one. And it was on all the time on ESPN, the commercials. And I was like, what is this thing?
Right.
And they actually have like deals with ESPNs. You can get like some of the ESPN stuff that they put out, but they also have tons of real legitimate original content like QB1 Beyond the Lights. It's a football show about high school quarterbacks. And then there's like Snooki and JWoww.
I was just about to say,
like it's a bunch of nonsense, garbage, but it's a very
you said it.
But it's a very interesting way of like here's this free streaming television network. I'm gonna call it a network. It's not a station. It's like there's a lot of shows and they're on demand and you can watch them.
And it's only original?
Except for the ESPN stuff, I believe it is.
So it's kind of like Crackle, although Crackle has both as original and non-original. Like Crackle's from Sony, I think.
So this is Verizon,
right, who's
doing this, and I think it's a pretty smart maneuver on their behalf.
Yeah, this is where I really want Apple to do that TV app that they started, which hasn't. Like, I don't use it. I found myself not using it because I just know where to go. But this is where I want.
We started using it and we got
better.
Upset because certain apps aren't hooked into it yet.
Just what I said. Like, that
You
when
didn't
that
say
gets
that.
to the you interrupted me in the middle of the sentence,
No,
so you would have known.
I'm gonna interrupt you.
Yeah. And so if Apple gets it right, in theory, all the things would feed in there, and then I don't have to worry about where they are, which is the whole thing. Like, I'll tell you, a show that I really, really love, and I found again, and I started watching it, was Commuters in Cars Getting Coffee with Seinfeld.
You love that show.
And I forget about it because it's not in my existence. It's nowhere. It's in Crackle, and I'm not in Crackle very much. And all of a sudden, I thought about it. I was like, oh, let me go back in. I found I forgot which one was a really great episode, and I was like, this is awesome. And then I forget about it again because it's not kind of in a stream. TiVo, I TiVo things. They show up in my TiVo. Hulu, I go in. They have the watch list. Netflix, I go in. It has my Netflix watch list.
Yeah.
By the way, both of which Hulu now has profiles, which is killer, thankfully, because
I didn't know that.
my wife watches tons of crap, and I don't like it showing up in my.
Anyway, that's my pick. I thought it was interesting for
That's not bad.
For Verizon to get into the game and have all this original content.
There's a one called Screen Junkies, which is on YouTube, and they do a lot of fun stuff. And then they have something called Screen Junkies Plus, which is their original content network, and they charge for it. And they do like fake roasts. So celebrity roasts. So they do like the roast of Darth Vader.
Oh.
They do the roast of Captain America. They did the roast of Harry Potter. They do like fake fanboy roasts,
right?
And they're hysterical. They're like an hour and a half long. They get actors up there. They dress up. They roast them like Han Solo roasting Vader. I mean, it's very, very funny. It's geeky.
Very geeky.
But they're
very
funny.
Geeky.
Very geeky, but very funny. But it's under pay. You have to pay to get them. So anyway, cool. Go 60 free. Go 90. It's even better than Go 60. All right, I'm going to pick something I just used 2 seconds ago because I was sitting here and I didn't have time to go out. So we've talked about Fresh Direct. Fresh Direct is a local, it's like a Peapod, whatever. And they kicked off a new delivery service, which is more sort of Fresh Direct you kind of deliver for the day after, next day, 2 days later. Well, they started a new one called Food Kick. And Food Kick is sort of much more on demand. So this is where everybody's going back. It's funny because 10 years ago, they had all these services you could call up and immediately get things delivered, like ice cream and DVDs, and then they all went out of business.
Right.
They literally went all Urban Fetch.
Now there's a billion of them.
And now they're all coming back again.
Postmates, Caviar, Uber Eats.
So are they all just going to fail again? Is this the start of a bubble? Or how did they figure out the model that Urban Fetch failed on?
I don't know. I don't even understand the model. Like Uber Eats model or whatever, because I'll go on there and I'll like sitting right here in this studio, and I'll say,
AKA your apartment,
my apartment, and I'll say, where can I order from? And I'll open up like Postmates, for example, and there's places like in the city, like across the river over there, and I don't have a clue why I can order from those places. But like you open up like Seamless, which is or Grubhub, which is just a different model, where they're just sort of placing the order for me to the restaurant, as opposed to like paying somebody to just go get it for me. I guess
go get me
like, go order it and get it for me and bring it to me.
So this
I don't get it.
You would want this app. Well, first of all, they offered $25 like to try it. I was like, okay, I'll try something. If you're gonna give me $25, I will try it.
Give me $25. I'm there.
Right, I try it. So they do two things. They do a lot of fresh stuff, but they also do, which there haven't been a lot of in the city, is they deliver liquor. So I have my favorite gin in the world. It's cheaper on this.
Do they get it from the distillery?
I don't know, but it's cheaper on this than it is down the block. It's $4 cheaper.
Bring it to you
within 2 hours.
Oh,
I just did it.
Did you just order it?
I ordered it
2 hours from now.
I ordered it just now. Friday night cocktail time. Yes, I just ordered that.
Good price.
Yep. And look at this. Here's another item for you, and everybody home will love this.
Did you start something for me?
I didn't. Look what you could have ordered. A bag of ice.
I would have really used that. Like,
I know you would have.
Weeks back.
I know.
Oh man, you've gone to the store and bought me a couple bags of ice. I used to go through 2 bags of ice a day.
Very jerky of me to have to go out and buy you ice and come into your house and,
No one said that you weren't like cool about it, but I've known you for like 11 years. So I have 10 years on that.
12 years too long.
1 year thing.
12 years too long. Anyway, Food Kick by Fresh Direct is it's very local to New York. But if you're a New Yorker, it's cool. It's by Fresh Direct, and it's them trying to get into more like daily or quick delivery, and it works. And I just said deliver downstairs. You can throw in a tip, of course, if you want. I originally went in, the prices were roughly the same, but they've dropped their prices now, and they're lower than local places. So anyway, love Fresh Direct, so I'm trying Food Kick now. That's it. That's it for the podcast. Next week, we will be back. We have Destination Success. I came back, and someone's going to write a blog post about it, so we will discuss. We got a blog post on duplicate management, and then the greatest blog post of all of 2016 is the top 10 blog posts of 2016. That's what I wrote, and will be up. It was up now, but we'll talk about it next week. That's it for me, at Just Edelstein, at Jason Matwood, at Arkus Inc., Facebook.com/Arkus Inc., Success Community, Power of Us Group Hubs, LinkedIn, Google+, and it's been a while since we've seen some subscriptions or some reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, so, throw us one and tweet it at us. We'd love that. We really like being mentioned. We're crying lonely people as the cat makes noises in the corner.
He's licking an empty bowl.
Good
He's
job.
so pathetic.
Briscoe.
So pathetic. He's so hungry.
He's so hungry.
He's licking an empty bowl. He doesn't even get it. It's empty.
Well, but he's getting something out of it.
Some flavor.
All right, we got to get out of here.
No flavor in this bowl.
Justin and Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy days. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.